All right, guys, I know that almost everybody is finished with the safety quiz. If you are not, I'm going to ask that you just keep working on that, but I am going to start going over what we need to talk about today, so your group can get you caught up once you're finished. But again, you do need to take that until you make a 100 on it, so hopefully you were able to do that first try. If not, keep going until you do that. If you have not yet got a 100 on it, you should still be working. Okay, you do need to demonstrate that you have a knowledge of all of the lab safety rules before you do lab. Again, homework is to get the signatures on those different Google Forms. That is the syllabus, the safety contract, the KH letter, which I just gave you a paper copy of, and then there's also a parent contact preferences form. So I need all of those things filled out. You don't have to do the digital version of the K letter. You can, but I do need the paperback. They asked for us to get that one on paper this year. Otherwise, the only other homework you have is the assignment 102, identifying variables problem set. It is found in the My Open Math website, so hopefully you have already done the registration for that. If not, the directions are in Schoology and you just need to follow them to get it set up. You need to use your ID number as your username, and then you're supposed to put your class period in front of your last name, but it's all in there and it tells you the code that you need and everything. This assignment is, I think, only 10 questions. It should not take you very long. Some of you may have already finished it while you were sitting in the room. Supplies that you need for this class are on the syllabus, but I also went ahead and wrote them on the board. I added one extra one, and that is Kleenex, because whenever we start getting the sniffles and everything, and it's been pretty bad the last couple years, as y'all are well aware, I promise you'd rather wipe your nose with a Kleenex than these paper towels in the room, and that's your other option. So if I were you, I'd just bring some in so that we have them, especially as we get into cold and flu season. But additionally, just have your computer with you every day. Bring a notebook or use a section of your binder. I don't really care where you choose to keep your physics stuff, but have some place that you keep it organized. Pencils, pen, things to write with. Later on, especially next semester, having maybe even different colors of pens or markers or highlighters or something will be useful whenever we get into circuits. It helps to actually highlight or color the different loops that we're going to have in a circuit. So that would be something later on down the line. Graph paper, and then I'm going to ask you to also have expo markers. In fact, you're going to need expo markers tomorrow. So make sure that you come in with some expo markers, because you're going to be basically making a poster, but it's on a whiteboard. So have those with you. If you want it to be colorful, then bring 4 different colors. I don't really care, but make sure that you have those with you tomorrow. And then, of course, the Kleenex, so that we have that whenever we need it. This is what we're going to be doing today in class. We are going to do a lab activity now that you have demonstrated that you know the safety rules. Your task today is going to be to determine the strength of a spaghetti, spaghetti, and how to make a strong bridge. So you're going to be making a spaghetti bridge. The materials that you will be provided with are spaghetti. I did not get a few different types this year. I need to delete that. That's from last year. I just got regular plain spaghetti. A cup attached to a string. The weights that we're going to use are marbles. So for right now, I'm going to give you 4 minutes to brainstorm ideas of what you might be able to test or measure in order to find spaghetti bridge strength. And I'm just going to have you do this in groups that you're already sitting with. So those should be hopefully 4 or 5 people, since we have such a big room today. So go ahead, and I'm going to start a timer in a minute. If you have somebody at your table that's still taking their quiz, let them finish that first. But again, those are the materials that I'm going to provide you with: is spaghetti, a cup that's attached to a string, and then some marbles. I'll show you what that looks like. But again, you need to think of how you might be able to test and what you could measure in order to find the strength. How could you make it stronger or weaker or whatever different factors that might affect that? So I'm starting a timer now. Go ahead and turn and talk to your neighbors. This I mean by cup with a string on it. There's marbles in this one already.
So we're making a bridge. Oh, so we're making a bridge with the cup on it. Oh, we're making a bridge. Oh my god. Not only have I said it like 3 times.
Are we allowed to do like holding the bridge? Does it have to figure out how you're going to say it?
Oh, it says there's Yo, I gotta keep you might be able to test a bit. We're just gonna put the cups there, marbles and stuff.
All right. Hopefully, you were able to come up with some ideas. So I'm going to ask you guys to kind of share some of your ideas. So how can we test the strength of the bridge? What might you be able to change in order to make it stronger? Anybody want to raise their hand and volunteer what their group talked about doing or testing? More spaghetti. Okay, so let's add that up here. That's definitely something that you could test, is the number of pieces of spaghetti. Okay, so let's add that, if it will work. Number of noodles. Okay, what else could you test? What else could change the strength of the bridge? How much weight it could hold is really what we're looking at here. Yes?
Well, we were thinking if you put one like vertical and you put like other noodles or whatever on top horizontal, it'll add more like strength.
Okay.
Up to the middle.
So you're still talking about adding more noodles, you're just talking about the way that you're placing them?
Direction.
Okay. So placing them different directions. I haven't even heard that one before, but maybe, sure. I don't know, that could work. We haven't tested it. You never know. Anybody else have any? So that's still kind of number of noodles. I guess we'll put orientation of noodles. I don't know. Okay. Well, they're all just the same type of spaghetti noodles. That's what they were talking about, the orientation. Yes, sir.
You could like put the cup on the bridge and then add marbles.
Okay, so that would be how you would actually test the strength, would be to add marbles to the cup and attach it to the bridge. It might be hard to just balance a cup on top of the spaghetti. Anybody have a different idea how you might be able to put the cup on
You
there?
said that was a string, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so you could tie the string, or even just put the noodles through the string and just let it hang there. That would be what I would recommend that you do, rather than trying to tie it on or to balance it. That's why I am giving you a cup with a string, so you can actually put the noodles through here, like that. Okay, so number of noodles, we've got that. Some of you might want to try different orientation of the noodles, so putting them in different directions. Any other ideas? Yes, sir. Okay, so the way that they're packed, so I guess putting them in a bundle instead of next to each other. Okay. Any other ideas? What else could affect the strength of the bridge? What else could you change?
I feel like if the noodle's too long, it's just gonna snap.
Okay, so the length of the noodles.
Yeah.
Or span of the bridge, how long the bridge is. Any other ideas? I mean, y'all came up with the ones, well, except for, I hadn't heard the middle one, but y'all came up with the ones I was expecting you to come up with. But does anybody have any other ideas? These are all things you can test, so there's nothing wrong with it, I just hadn't heard it yet.
Hey, we go to Mars.
Okay, all right. So these are all different things that you could change in order to change, or at least possibly change. We don't know if it's going to change it, but to possibly change the strength of the bridge would be to change the number of noodles, maybe how those noodles are placed, and then change the length of the noodles or the span of your bridge. Okay. In terms of the span of your bridge, what I would recommend that you do, rather than trying to just hold the noodles in place, is I would recommend that you separate the two tables that you have at your desk and just put the noodles across the gap. And you could, if you wanted to, test the length or the span of the bridge, just move that gap farther apart or closer together to do different tests. If you're doing that, or if you're not testing that, you're just changing the number of noodles or whatever, you can leave that gap the same size the whole time. Okay, if you're looking at the homework assignment, or if you've already looked at it, hopefully you've already looked at independent variable, dependent variable, and control variables. Okay, so I have a question for you. First thing you're going to need to do is to choose which variable you want to test. If you didn't have an idea, there were 3 ideas up there. You can pick one of those. Okay, and to write a purpose statement on your paper. Okay, and so your purpose statement should look something like this. And so if I were you, I would have at least one person at your table get out paper. Maybe everybody should write it down, because who knows what's happening with our schedules over the next few days. Hopefully the same people are in your group tomorrow, but we don't know because they are balancing these numbers. So you might want to each write this. That way, if the person who wrote it's not in here anymore, you still have it. But you need to write a purpose statement to determine how whatever variable you choose affects the strength of a spaghetti bridge. That is your purpose. You're trying to determine how the length or span of the bridge affects strength, or how the number of noodles affects strength, or again, whatever it is that you chose. Question for you: if you are testing how the span of the bridge affects the strength, can you use a different type of spaghetti every time? Will you get valid results? No. Okay, you can only change one variable at a time. You can't have multiple things change it, because then you don't know whether your results are due to the different span or the different type of noodle. Okay, so please make sure that you are designing a valid experiment that's only testing one variable at a time. All right, so again, get your purpose statement written out to determine how the length of the bridge affects the strength of the spaghetti bridge, or to determine how the number of noodles affects the strength of the bridge, or to determine how the placement of the noodles affects the strength of whatever it is that you want to test. Okay? All right, so once you have a purpose statement and you know what you wish to test, this is your task for today. Your task for today is to write step-by-step numbered list of lab procedures. I should see step 1, test 2 noodles. Step 2, test 3, or whatever if you're testing noodles. Or if you're doing the span, step 1, test it with a 5 centimeter gap, and then with a 7, 9, whatever. Okay, but you need to get multiple data points. You can't just do the test once. That's not going to give you valid results. Okay, so you should be getting multiple data points with this. But I need a step-by-step list of numbered lab procedures. That is what you are working on right now. It should be clear enough that anyone reading would be able to follow it. Write it so that like a 7-year-old could do your experiment. Okay, so very, very clear. During class tomorrow, you'll perform the experiment that you are currently designing. So you're writing it today, but you're not doing it until tomorrow. Okay, so if there's something that you want to use that I am not providing, okay, if you wanted to test something else in addition to what I have given you options, you have the option of bringing in additional materials tomorrow. Please ask me first just to make sure we're not bringing anything crazy. But if you do want to bring something else in, you can. You do not have to. There should be enough here for you to conduct an experiment. But if there's something else you want to bring, just let me know. And then tomorrow you'll actually gather your data, record your data. You're going to graph it, analyze it, and give me a conclusion. Okay, you know, I found that increasing the length of the bridge affected the strength in this way, made it weaker, made it stronger, whatever. Okay, or maybe even give me a numeric value, made it this much stronger for every centimeter, because if you graph it, you can get that. Okay, or the number of noodles, adding each noodle made it this much stronger, okay, or weaker, or whatever. But you do need expo markers tomorrow, because you're going to be putting all of your results on a poster board, which is really just a big whiteboard, so that we're being more economically friendly to the environment. Environmentally friendly is what I meant to say. So anyway, but I have a bunch of big whiteboards back there. So bring expo markers tomorrow if you want it to be pretty, bring different colors. But for right now, for the remainder of the class period, which you guys have about 13 minutes or so, you need to write out some procedures. So y'all need to talk as a group and figure out exactly how you want to test it. You can each write the procedures out, or maybe 2 of you write them out, or however you want to do that. But I would definitely have more than one person do it, just in case they're not in here tomorrow. So that is what I have for you for the rest of the period today, is to write a list of procedures that you can then follow tomorrow. Here is what your example setup might look like. You have until the end of class, and then you have a homework assignment. 102 is the investigating variables, and again, since you're doing this today, it's kind of in the same vein. But that assignment in My Open Math is due by 11:59 p.m. tonight. Okay. So, the purpose statement needs to be structured like that.